What's up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks so much for being here, for being subscribed if you are. And if you're not, go ahead and hit that button. And if you're listening to this on YouTube while you're at it, hit that like button. It's like walking into the room and hitting that light switch. We just want to go ahead and brighten up the place. So let's get into this conversation/reality chat. All right, guys, it's been a few weeks now since I've watched The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And honestly, even when I have watched it, it hasn't been intentionally. It's kind of just been in passing. It definitely wasn't like, oh, it's coming on at this time, I got to watch it. So, and it's been like that for several years now. I used to watch The Real Housewives of Orange County, which was the flagship of all of the Real Housewives franchises. It started with Orange County. So even that one, I can say I wasn't watching it over the past several seasons, but I did watch last season. It wasn't the greatest, and there was a girl who was a bit of a train wreck, but honestly, even if she was a train wreck, because it was someone that we did not know, it was just kind of like you're watching it because it's something that you haven't seen before, just like with a train wreck. When a train wreck happens, you're not enjoying it. You're just like, oh my God, this actually happened. And you're looking at it in sort of like disbelief. So that's kind of how it was for me with watching Real Housewives of Orange County. Plus, it was just interesting to see Heather's house, even though I don't really like Heather. But it wasn't even a house, it's an estate. Was just massive, and she was so happy to be back on the show, so of course she was showing it off, and I just wanted to see the place. But anyway, Real Housewives of Atlanta, I often hear people saying they need to bring Nene back, and Nene has even had the nerve recently to say how she would come back, but it would only be for the fans. And it's like, she really believes her own hype. Listen, I'm not saying that she didn't work to get the attention that she got, where she either became a fan favorite, where people wanted to just give her opportunities, like she got the opportunity to be on Glee, and then from there she was starring in the show The New Normal, which only got one season. I never watched it. But anyway, it wasn't because of her acting skills. Let's just be honest. It was because Ryan Murphy liked her. He was friends with Andy Cohen. She was, at the time, I guess, a fave of Andy Cohen, and that's how she got the opportunity. She didn't get it because she was this amazing actress. And that's the part that I need her and other people who feel that she got that because it was well earned. She didn't get it because of her acting skills. It had nothing to do with that. And then she started smelling herself and believing her own hype on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And instead of just doing the work, she got tired of it. She literally closed the laptop when they had that reunion, when it was the year of the C word. So she sued the network. She was calling Andy and others racist and just a lot of other allegations. And you really think that that company is going to hire you again to ever come back and be a part of what they have? Absolutely not. So I just think it is crazy to continue to bring that up at this point. It's never, ever going to happen. But even with Nene, all of these others, I just feel like with the reboot of The Real Housewives of New York, which I haven't watched yet, by the way, but I plan on watching it. Everyone on the show is new. Everyone on the show, they didn't bring anyone back. I've said this before, and other people are agreeing with me now, that if they want to keep these franchises going, for some of them, maybe not all, but for some of them, especially with The Real Housewives of Atlanta, it may be at that point in time where it is time to start fresh. Real Housewives of New York have been around for a long time. Yeah, they brought Tamara back to The Real Housewives of Orange County. Love her or hate her, I guess they felt like they needed her, and they said that she's bringing fresh energy back to the show. I have only watched a part of one episode so far of this new season. I'm going to catch up on it, and I may talk about what I see on there. I don't do reviews of shows, but I may talk about it. But I saw this article on the Huffington Post, and I was like, wow. someone agrees with me. So I'm going to read this article and share my thoughts. So it says, RHOA is so underwhelming, it needs to be revamped. And they have a picture of the current cast, and it says, the names of the people in the show. So it says, on the 9th episode of this season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Sheree Whitfield gathered most of her fellow OG cast members for a scene intended to stoke our nostalgia. Whitfield, who was one of the original peach holders on the series, had been teasing this mini reunion for some time in promotion of the show's 15th season. But as nice as it was to see her, Lisa Wu, Kim Zolciak Biermann, and Deshawn Snow all together again, everything about it was underwhelming, much like the rest of this season. Wow. Considering Nene Leakes filed a lawsuit against Bravo last year, no one expected to see her appear on camera with her fellow OGs. Still, because she is arguably the most famous Real Housewife of any of the franchises, I don't know about that. But anyway, her absence would be felt no matter how hard anyone tried to fill the gap. Not that anyone did. Snow looked great, but after all these years, she remains as muted as ever. If not for the efforts of her co-stars who tried to reel her into the conversation after a while, she would have completely faded away from the scene. Some things never change, but for her sake, I wish they had at that moment. Wu at least tried to get to the mess when she asked Zolciak Biermann about her rumored financial problems, but Zolciak Biermann is incapable of being truthful about such matters, and especially not to someone who only minutes prior said she couldn't tell if she wanted to hug her or choke her. Zolciak Biermann tried to make her presence felt, taking shots at current housewives Kandi Burruss and Kenya Moore. It felt like she was trying to find a way back onto the show, and we know that she was. And it continues, something Whitfield has publicly pushed for in the past. Even Leakes believes she can still provide good drama for the show. However, after hearing the way she asked Whitfield's son if he gets along with his, quote, baby mama, I think the show should leave her where they left her in 2016. The show doesn't need to look that far back to fix its problems anyway. The point of this gathering, Whitfield said, was to show how, in spite of all of the years of bickering, everyone from that group could get together and be cordial with one another, unlike the women on the show now. That might have been her stated goal, but by the end of it, the scene felt unnecessary and pointless. And it really was. It really was. I mean, it was very boring. Kim came in there lying as usual. Deshawn was quiet. Lisa Wu, she just looked tired and didn't feel like she really wanted to be there. I'm just saying. So anyway, the story continues. Wu and Snow brought not much of anything, and Zolciak Biermann was lying, so it felt like watching a rerun. Whitfield was playing the role of matriarch when she has traditionally served as the bone collector. She always has been a disruptor more than a unifier, and that's absolutely true. If anything, those random minutes of airtime only highlighted what we already knew about the show then, but more than ever in its present form. RHOA works best when it's well cast, ideally with people who actually happen to be friends. Yes, people are still watching, but not with the same fervor they used to in its glory days. Much of the online chatter about RHOA in recent years is less about the drama found on the show and increasingly about its decline. A lot of it is also about how boring the show has gotten over the years. I'll take the word of RHOA cast members that Bravo executives are pleased with the ratings of the show, no matter what the declining overnight ratings. Admittedly, a terrible barometer to gauge a show's popularity in this decade might suggest, but as far as the quality of the show goes, I would hope they see the clear problems. Whitfield is right to want the cast to get closer. It shouldn't have taken until the 10th episode to have this many group scenes on a given episode. And it requires an international trip. Then again, even when they are together, the moments are often joyless because they're too busy beefing over issues that feel made up. This is especially true of Marlo Hampton, who may be the best friend I've ever on a Real Housewives show, but in her second year as a Real Housewife, is not working as well as she might have 10 years ago when she had more of a rapport with the women on the cast. For weeks now, she has argued with Burruss about the singer's apparent poor handling of the death of Hampton's nephew, who used to work at one of her restaurants. Hampton has generated a lot of heated reactions from Burruss over an issue that prior footage has since shown didn't bother her at all until she needed something to talk about on camera. Invented beef is not that entertaining. The same goes for contrived relationships like Whitfield's newest special friend, Love and Marriage Huntsville star Martell Holt. It felt like the two found each other for careerist reasons, but even if that is not the case, how many times can we watch Whitfield date the wrong man? Child, no, they did not say that. Anyway, the story continues. Meanwhile, for someone who claims the women need to get along better, Whitfield did not follow her own advice with Drew Sidora, whom she brought to tears on Sunday's episode after she refused to take ownership for her actions and apologize. I find that Sidora has a stage play-like delivery in most of her scenes, but I felt her in that moment. I, too, got sad over Whitfield's stubbornness, which made the episode all the more unbearable. I got even more sad once I realized we have several episodes left of this season. I say this as a fan who doesn't want RHOA to suffer the same fate as the actual Peaches in Georgia. The network has two options. The first is that it can hopefully reel in fan favorites like Portia Williams-Gulbadia back to the show. The show needs levity, real relationships, and respectfully, people with money. Her solo show, Portia's Family Matters, was a disaster, but she will always shine in an ensemble. Sheree Whitfield and Portia Williams-Gulbadia on Watch What Happens Live happened not long ago, and that's one of the reasons why they are mentioning her. Anyway, in that way, RHOA can enjoy the kind of renaissance that the Real Housewives of Orange County is experiencing. After the return of both Heather Dubrow and Tamara Judge amid another cast shakeup, it is its best in several years. I want that for RHOA, or at least cast members like Burruss and Moore, who deserve better than what they've been given to work with. If that can't happen, there is the other option, a total reboot, like The Real Housewives of New York City, which premiered with an entire new cast after RHOA on Sunday. When it was initially announced that all of the women on RHONY would be replaced, I was a bit incensed. Now that I've watched the premiere with an open mind, I see the value of revitalizing a show with a fresh sweep. These women are more diverse, rich, not that different in age than the women who first launched the show when it premiered, and more importantly, have real relationships with each other. When I watch Real Housewives, I want conflict, but I also want laughs, camaraderie, and respectfully rich nonsense like arguing over cheese and restaurants as they did on the rebooted RHONY premiere. As good as it can be to reminisce, when compared to the stagnant RHOA, the new RHONY makes the better case for why, instead of looking back, sometimes it's better to just start anew. And listen, guys, I thought that article was interesting because this is pretty much confirming my views and thoughts on what I said previously. I'm not here to say the Real Housewives of Atlanta should be canceled, because there are so many other people that work on the show and behind the scenes, like they have jobs, careers, families. So that's never what I'm saying. I don't think you should sacrifice the entire thing. But how long has Survivor been on? And I get it. It's a game show, but it's a challenge show, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, it's like a game show where you have a winner at the end. I get it. We're not doing that with the Real Housewives, but technically, it's a reality show. And two, you never have the same people every season. And that show has been going on for how long now? I've said this before and I will say it again. That's one of the reasons why they need to start anew and just get all new people. Now, I don't know who would really want to be on the show. It would really have to be people who literally have money, but they also want attention. There are a lot of people that are really, truly, genuinely wealthy or rich, but they don't want the attention. And that is completely fine. So they would have to have people, I believe, that literally do have money. Not saying it would be interesting if they do have some problems. I don't want people coming on here being like the chick from Salt Lake City who just completely was scamming people and lying to get the money that she was getting. So no, we don't want criminals. We don't want people that are getting money in devious, deceitful ways to act as if they're rich or wealthy. But life has struggles and issues. So it definitely would be interesting to see people who actually do have money, who do have wealth, but also do have some struggles and some issues, because that's just real life, right? But also people that we don't know. And I'm not saying that they need to change people every season, but if you think about it, as long as the Real Housewives of New York has been on, they kept having the same people. They would bring on somebody, new every now and then, and some of the people would stay a little bit and some of them would leave almost immediately. The Real Housewives of Orange County, for the most part, they have always had somebody new coming on, but they would switch things up. With the Real Housewives of Atlanta, it's been on long, as I would say as long as, or almost as long as the Real Housewives of Orange County, and definitely as long as the Real Housewives of New York. So I feel like at this time, it really does need to be a change. And then when Potomac has been on for maybe, I don't know what season they're on now, but maybe once they get up to season 10 or whatever, if it makes it that far, then they need to switch up and just start afresh and anew, because they get to the point where these people get so big in terms of their star that it shouldn't be like that. The Real Housewives franchise, it shouldn't be about people becoming celebrities or stars off of this stuff. Have your moment, do what you do, take advantage of it, and then get gone. And they need to bring new people on. That's one of the reasons why I believe the Real Housewives of Atlanta is just not it anymore. We not hating on Candy, but we know that she'll never miss a bag. She'll always use whatever she can to leverage and make money and create opportunities. Fine, do that. But you've done it and you're still doing it. Like, give somebody else an opportunity and not be on the show anymore. I don't think any of these people really need to be on here anymore, to be honest with you. Some people don't like Drew. Some people like Drew, but she's one of the newest. A lot of people don't really see it for Sanya. I honestly feel like they just need to do a full-on reboot, just like they did for the Real Housewives of New York, for Atlanta. I don't even think bringing Portia back on the show is going to really do it. I think that moment is gone, because if they were to bring Portia back and Phaedra back, I feel like it should have been years ago, but because Candy didn't want to, which I thought, my personal opinion, was not a smart thing to say, well, if they bring Phaedra back, I'm not going to be on here anymore. And they just acquiesced to what she wanted versus what was best for the show. I didn't think that was a smart thing. I actually didn't even understand it. The fact that Portia was the one that was out loud going around saying these things. And I'm not saying that Phaedra wasn't wrong, but how can you film? I wouldn't want to film with Portia either. I'm saying if she didn't want to film with Phaedra, why did she want to film with Portia? That just didn't make sense to me. When she was the one that was literally out loud on camera saying these things, and even took a step back from someone who was supposed to be her best friend at the time, Shamia, when she was alleging things that Candy and Shamia were doing. Like, I wouldn't want to be filming with her either if I didn't want to film with Phaedra. But I think if they had brought them back on, well, not them, but brought her back on, meaning Phaedra, years ago. Let's see some real confrontation, not this manufactured beef that really most people are just tired of. And so I thought it was interesting when I saw this article in HuffPost about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and it needed to be revamped because I have already been saying this. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, but I just really found it refreshing to see someone say something and agree with what I have been feeling and thinking for some time, because girl, Sheree, bye. I'm over Sheree. Like even the article said that we're tired of seeing her and these relationships that are failures from the word go. It's tiring. And Candy and Marlo going back and forth and all this other stuff. It's just like, it's done. It's not done because Nene isn't on the show anymore. She doesn't need to be back on here either. That's my personal opinion, but I really would love to know what you guys think about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for being here, liking and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until the next time, I just wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.